Welcome back, good leader listeners. In today's episode, the crew is talking about contentment versus achievement, and Anj has the quote of the century. So stay tuned and listen to today's episode with us.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everyone, and welcome to a very family episode of the Good Leader Podcast. Why? Because we are starting Pixar Palooza. You've had the introductions over the last couple of weeks, but now we're actually starting it off. We're going to learn leadership lessons from our favorite Pixar movies. Now, I want to encourage you, if you don't know these Pixar films, don't worry about it. We're still going to talk about leadership lessons. But if you want to get ahead and be fully engaged in the next series of episodes over the summer, I would encourage you to check out the 8 Pixar movies that made our list. Now, this is not a final list, but these are the 8 that through incredibly difficult discourse, we decided these are the 8 best representations of leadership lessons within Pixar. Now, we do have a special guest. I said this is a family episode, so I would like to introduce to the stage Jocelyn Reymer, my 11-year-old daughter. Jocelyn, welcome to the pod. Hi. Now, Jocelyn, do you have our official list of 8 that you can tell the listeners? Yes. Go for it. What are those 8 Pixar movies that we are going to debate?
Cars 3, Finding Nemo, A Bug's Life, Incredibles, Monsters University, Onward, Toy Story 3, and Coco.
Excellent. Now, of those, Jocelyn, do you have an early favorite that you think if you had to pick who's going to win this tournament? It's not just best movie, it's best leadership lessons from the movie. Now, I know you've seen all of those. So do you have an early favorite that you think might win the whole thing?
Pre-Monsters University.
Oh, you think Monsters University early
she didn't
on?
Have to think about it.
She did not. She's ready for that
she
pick.
Knew. Yeah.
She's ready for that pick. Now, I know that in the pre-meeting here, as we were getting ready, the pre-production meeting, as it were, I introduced you as Jocelyn Eloise Reymer, and Jess asked you if you have 2 middle names. Is that correct?
Unofficially, yes.
Unofficial or
Unofficially is crazy. Can we please get some context?
Unofficially or
you have to tell the story.
One night we were lying in bed, and for some reason, Mama called me Eloise, and she was like, "That should be my middle name," and I was like, "Okay." And she added it, and so it's not like if I had to put it on a document or something really important, it would be Jocelyn Reymer, but we just added Eloise for fun.
Yeah, and what I like about what I love
Is it R-A-Y or R-A-E?
R-A-E.
That's my niece's middle name too.
Cute. Nice.
Mama's middle name.
Yeah, we're big on family middle names in our household. Every middle name is a family connection. Mm-hmm. First names are pretty unique, but then the middle name is the family connection. What I appreciate about Jocelyn is she's not afraid to stand out. Like once she adopted the Eloise, she was like, "Yeah, I'm just going to own it." And that's my middle. She convinced me. At first, I was like, "Well, that's not your middle name." And then she was like, "Well, I'm sticking with it."
It's cute. Oh, okay. It's a good one. I think
it's a good one. And now,
yeah.
Leadership in action, right there. Speaking of leadership in action, okay, it's showtime. I've got a Pixar game right here, right now. All right, so we're gonna go. Do we want to be competitive or collaborative, Jocelyn? Do you want to be? Jocelyn loves her favorite part of the Good Leader Podcast are the competitions. Is that correct, Jocelyn? I don't want to speak out of turn here.
Absolutely.
Who are you rooting for? Do you ever root for someone, or do you have a favorite? As you're listening, are you always like what's your impression of the games when you're listening? I just want to hear the voice of the listener here. What are you thinking when you hear these competitions, these silly games that we do? What's going through your brain?
Brian's usually right.
Okay, all right. Okay, so Brian's usually right. He is really going to love that. So when Brian gets to participate, he's right. Wow. All right, well, here's the way we're going to do it. All right, this is going to be Jess and Jocelyn versus Lemuel and Anj.
Wow.
All right, so those are the 2 teams.
I think we're behind Anj.
Yeah, I was like, wow,
this is the way it's going to go.
Y'all get ready.
We are the B team.
This is the Pixar Palooza character casting matching. So what I'm going to say is a character from any Pixar movie, and your team needs to buzz in and guess what movie that is. All right.
We'll literally say buzz or
buzz in. Yeah, just like that. Okay, yeah, exactly. Just like that.
Making sure it sounds.
Let's go ahead and test all our buzzers. Ready? Go ahead. Let's test our buzzers. All the buzzers work. That's great.
Wow.
Excellent. Yes. So you're going to buzz in. First team to buzz in gets to answer, and that's it. That's the way we're going to play the game. So it's very simple. And I'm going to tell you they're going to start off a little easier, and then they're going to get a little more difficult as we progress. Are you ready?
So we say it like the same time.
You buzz in, and I'll call on you.
Listen,
so
if you're the first answer,
one,
you take it.
Just buzz in. Yeah, just buzz in if you know the answer.
Jess really got some aid here.
All right,
she got
so
some serious help.
First one, Buzz Lightyear. Oh, Lemuel.
Toy Story.
Toy Story is a correct. All right, so that'd be 1 point. That's how the game is played. All right, here we go. Number 2, Randall Boggs. Lemuel.
Monsters University.
Monsters University, correct. Also acceptable would have been Monsters Inc.
That's what I meant to say. But
He got me
still
nervous
works.
there for a second. I was
I
like,
forgot who that was.
All right, it's acceptable. He was in both. He's in both. He's in both. He's in both. All right. Bo Peep. Jocelyn. Toy Story is
That's a
correct.
good one.
That's right. Riley. Jocelyn.
Inside Out.
Inside Out, correct. Princess Ada. Princess Ada.
oh my gosh, it's in my head.
Princess
Oh my gosh,
Ada.
I know this one. This is so devastating.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
I know. I see.
I literally know
this.
this
This is
one.
what I need to watch on YouTube.
I've
you want a
watched
hint?
it
All right,
so
here we go.
many
Here we go.
times.
Princess Ada. She may be small, but don't underestimate her. Princess Ada. She may be
my gosh,
tiny,
how am I
crawling under your feet.
Oh, A Bug's Life?
Yes.
Jocelyn.
Yes.
Bug's Life.
A Bug's Life, correct. Jocelyn gets the point.
Yay.
Princess
Oh,
Ada.
I
She is
should've been
in.
ahead.
That's
She
my
is in A Bug's
teammate.
Life. All right.
We just watched it this weekend. I was like, oh my gosh.
All right.
I've only watched that.
I know
once.
this.
I know. Here we go. All right. Now we're gonna step it up a notch.
Oh no, I'm scared.
This one's tough. This one's a little bit tougher. Colette Tattoo. Colette Tattoo. 3, 2,
Oh, wait,
1.
Buzz.
Buzz.
Ratatouille.
Ratatouille is correct.
I
Colette. She's the girl chef. She's the girl
Yes.
It
chef.
was like.
I love that buzz in on.
All right. Here we go. Here we go. Yeah. Oh, Buzz. Yeah.
I forgot.
We did a buzzer check and everything. Her buzzer worked.
I forgot.
All right, it's getting tougher. It's getting tougher. Edna Mode. Ange.
Incredibles.
Incredibles. All right, with that one, she took the lead. Lim and Ange are 4. The ladies are 3. Here we go. All right. Ham.
Toy
Jocelyn.
Story.
Toy Story is correct.
Yeah, I was
Almost
Ham.
said-
He's the piggy bank. All right, here we go. We're stepping it up. I've got about 3 or 4 more, and then we're done. Very hard character to name. Colt Bronco. Jocelyn.
Toy Story?
Nope.
Oh, dang.
Great guess.
Wait,
Colt
can I guess?
Bronco. Sure.
Buzz in. Buzz
Yeah,
in,
you got to
Jess.
buzz in.
You gotta-
Yes. 3, 2, 1. Colt Bronco is in Onward.
Oh, I would not have
Onward.
gotten that.
He's like the stepdad.
I
He's
forgot
the,
about that.
the
I haven't even-
centaur
yeah.
I
stepdad.
don't think I
Didn't even come to my mind.
Oh, okay. Well, I said it was hard.
I know. That's the hardest one so far.
Carl Fredrickson. Carl Fredrickson.
Lem is going to get so many memes off my face through
Carl
this last 3
Fredrickson.
minutes. I literally, this is going to drive me nuts.
Jess.
Up.
Up is correct. Up is correct.
Devastating. I knew
Don't
it.
check the cams, y'all, on that.
All right. Here we go. 2 more and then we're done. Bon Voyage. Bon Voyage.
Oh my gosh.
Bon Voyage.
I'll take a guess at the
Buzz.
last minute.
Yes. Oh, Ange buzzed in. Sorry.
Okay, she
Yes,
can have
Ange.
it.
She
She can
buzzed.
have it.
Yeah, what is it?
Is it
3.
Incredibles?
It's Incredibles.
That's what I was gonna
He's the villain at the
Yes,
very
that's
beginning.
exactly
of the
what I
Because I
thought
can
of.
hear
All right.
Edna sing.
Yes,
Yes,
it's
me too.
tied.
Yeah.
It is
Me
tied.
too.
It is tied. 5-5.
Use that buzzer, Jess.
I know. I
Tiebreaker.
should have just.
It's tied 5-5. This is the tiebreaker. It's the last one. Bookworm.
Did it Buzz?
Jocelyn.
Good buzz.
Is it Buzz Life? Bug's Life?
No, sorry. Good guess. Good guess. Makes sense. That's a good guess.
Wait, say it again.
Bookworm. Bookworm. 3,
I haven't seen
2.
it.
Buzz.
Oh, yes, Ange.
Finding Nemo?
Nope, not Finding Nemo. 3, 2, 1. All right, that game ends in a tie. We'll have to pick it up next time on
Wow.
Pixar Palooza. Bookworm is from Toy Story 3. Whenever they are looking for the instructions for Buzz Lightyear,
If we
they go
had
to the
said-
library and the bookworm comes along and finds
If we had
the-
said Toy Story, would that have counted?
Absolutely not.
Okay, that makes me
and
feel
here's
better.
why. Because he's
that's all I was gonna
only
say.
in Toy Story 3.
Sure.
Woody, Bo Peep, they're in multiple, so
Yeah.
I'll take Toy Story as the general answer.
'Kay.
But he is only in Toy Story 3. That's why it's difficult.
It's fine. Wouldn't have gotten it.
That's why he was.
Makes me
It
feel
was
good.
harder and harder.
Okay.
Okay, so we're talking about all of these Pixar movies. We're gonna, after the break, we're gonna come back and we're gonna talk about Soul specifically. And really, this is the quote that kind of encompasses most of Soul. Now, Soul isn't even in our tournament, but I rewatched it. Okay, I watched several of these Pixar movies, and it's okay. I'll take the hit, and I willingly took it. I willingly said, let's put The Incredibles in over soul. So I'm not going to fight for it, but I just couldn't move on. It's just worth the leadership lesson, even though it doesn't have a chance to win the tournament. So this is the quote, and we'll come back right after the break. This is water. What I want is to be in the ocean. When we get back from the break, we're going to talk about achievement versus contentment.
Wow, have you guys been doing a commercial without me?
Yes.
Paradigm Shift team building resources are available in our online store. Medium Talk, Wordles, Leader versus Leader, Native American Leader versus Leader, AI cards, and much more. You can buy our card decks today, www.ps.company/store.
That's right. If you're leading a meeting, leading a team building event, or just an everyday staff gathering, you should check out ps.company/store and get some of these decks. They're great icebreakers. They're great connection devices. They are helpful in all sorts of ways. Now, Jocelyn, you and I did the research. We watched Soul. What's your impression of the movie Soul? Any leadership lessons that stood out to you before we dive into what I've got? Anything that stood out to you from Soul, life lessons, What's your favorite part of the movie? Because it's a good movie. It was better than I remembered.
Just a funny part from the movie that I really liked was when the mentors met all their
all the souls
thing,
mm-hmm.
and 22 didn't want to go.
It's hilarious. One of my favorite. I think it's an underrated scene. But if you haven't seen the movie, 22 is number 22 because she's the 22nd soul ever created.
Yes.
And they're up to 100 billion souls or something in the movie. And she's had all these great mentors of the past, like Gandhi and Abraham Lincoln and Mother Teresa. And one of my favorite lines, it cracked me up the first time I saw it, cracks me up every time I saw it, is she's talking to Abraham Lincoln as her mentor. And she says, "It really doesn't bother you that you're only on the penny?" And he goes, "No, it's an honor to be on anything." And she goes, "Andrew Jackson's on the $20 bill." And he just goes, "Jackson!" And it is hilarious. Oh man, it is an underrated movie. I love. There are two parts. This whole idea of the movie that I want to bring to the Good Leader podcast is this conversation versus contentment and achievement. And there's a part, and I'm going to misquote it, but there's a part where Joe, the main character, is talking to 22 about his life and how he has this chance to fulfill his dream. He gets to play jazz music on the stage with Dorothea Williams, this famous artist, and it's the culmination of his life. And it was cut short. He died the day that he was going to see that happen. And he looks at her and he says, "If I could just do this, I know that my whole life is going to come together. If I can just do this, I know that my whole life is going to come together." And that one, in thinking about this podcast and talking about that line this time, really resonated with me, because I think there are many of us out there at leadership positions, business positions, that think, if I achieve this thing, everything will come together. If I just, whether it's a financial goal or a career status or maybe an educational status, like, well, once I get my degree or and I think that a lot of people have that idea, and it is almost always, in my opinion at least, it is almost always not as fulfilling or completing as we thought it would be, or it didn't open the doors that we thought it would open. Do you all have the same experience? You know what I'm saying? That's just the general conversation I want to go with. But is my impression right or wrong? Do you get the same overall feeling, or am I misinterpreting it?
For me, for sure. I actually feel like when I'm in that mindset, it's crippling because I'm discontent. I haven't learned to be content with, where I'm at currently. So I've definitely experienced that. Okay.
All right. Jess, you were kind of head nodding. What do you think?
I agree with them for sure. I was kind of thinking about it in an opposite perspective, though, in the way that there are things like that can happen to you, but it's almost when you're never looking. Mm-hmm. And there is something that can happen, whether it's in your personal life or professional life, and it's the one thing that can actually change everything for you, kind of like a domino effect. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't even thinking about it in I have to do this one thing or I'm never going to make it, but almost if you just let things happen and, there is one thing that can change everything for you.
But you might not know what that thing is.
Right. And I
think that's interesting.
And I think it's almost, if you're not looking for it, is when it's going to happen and you're just kind of going with the flow.
And I kind of like that, because it's not the idea that one thing can't change everything, but it's unpredictable.
Because if you're dying and killing yourself to get to this one thing, I think that once you get there, it's not going to mean as much as you thought it would.
Okay. Now that's cool, because I wasn't thinking about that, but I like where you're going with that.
Yeah, I think I can get behind that. one way that I've thought about it that might relate is I think when I'm the most content, the achievements matter more.
Yeah.
Or have more, maybe a positive impact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anj, what were you thinking? Echo, ditto?
Not quite with Lim as
Okay.
much. No, I think for me, if I'm content, the achievements like actually matter less, just in my perspective, because it just
Okay.
doesn't. There's a really good quote that kind of relates to this. I'm gonna have to look it up, but it's something like if praise, this is not it. I'll find it, but like if praise brings you up, criticism will bring you down. It's something along those lines.
Okay.
I think when I'm most content, neither alter me. Like
Okay.
praise doesn't elevate me and criticism doesn't, define me. Sure. Is a good word. So,
Okay.
I think when I can just remain confident in what it is that I'm supposed to be doing and I'm actually not altered by the positive or the negative, I've been able to manage that tension the best. That's typically when I know I'm the most content.
Yeah. Well, I think I've gone through seasons of my life and different eras. One thing that I shared with an audience, I was a part of a group, and we put on a conference called Launch Out several years ago, and we did this for a few years. And it was a part of a group that named themselves Dreamers and Builders. And these were people from all walks of life, all across the country, globe really, but our unifying trait was that we were all starting something, like either a business or a podcast, or we wanted to write a book, or or a nonprofit. I mean, it was people from all walks of life, but the idea was dreamers and builders. I have a dream, I want to build something, great. And so we were part of this group together, and it was really cool how it organically started through like a Facebook group and connections, and then that turned into in-person meetings, that turned into a conference. And it was really just mutual encouragement and growth. And I was asked to MC the event and speak and share my opinion on a few of those things. And my presentation, I showed one of those giant candy bars, one of those 2-pound Reese's, or like the gigantic things you get at Valentine's Day or Christmas, just a special occasion, gigantic candy bar. And I showed that and I said, this is your dream. And many of us have, especially in that group, we all had a dream like that. And I did, certainly at that time, the dream was paradigm shift. Like, okay, we've kind of started this company. We have no employees. We would love to have employees. We've worked in a few places. We'd love to work globally. All of these big dreams, big ideas. Because it's interesting, and I like I want to juxtapose the ideas of achievement versus contentment, because I think you can reside in both. Mm-hmm. I don't think it is an either or mentality, but I do think that there is harmony that you have to create within yourself. Mm-hmm. And so I showed this big candy bar, and I was like, this is it. And so I fired everybody up, and I'm like, so let's name our dreams, real almost like Tony Robbins. I was just like, you can do it, kind of vibe, and got everybody pumped up. And I said, but what if I told you this? And then I held it up and I was like, what if I told you, you will never achieve this, no matter how hard you try, no matter what strategy you invoke, no matter how much you believe or persist or do anything you can, you will never get this. Mm-hmm. One, of course, in the audience is looking at me confused, because I was doing that on purpose to set up this confusion. It's like, okay, you just fired us up for that's my goal. I want to achieve my goals. We're all here to pump each other up and rally cry for you can do it. I said, because here's the caveat. And I set the big giant candy bar to the side. And then I got out one of those, I call them like grandma candies. It was a bag of like Hershey's brand, the little bitty bars of like Mr. Goodbar, Crackle, dark chocolate, and Hershey's regular, that bag. And I got out one of those bags, and I held up one of the little like Mr. Goodbars. And I said, here's where you are right now. I said, here's where you are right now, this little bitty candy bar. If your big dream is to, let's say, publish a book, and you want people to read your work, and you want to write this book, and it's going to impact people and influence people, it's going to be great. And I was like, well, right now you have to just write something. Like you're at your house by yourself. No one knows, no one cares. You have to start typing, and you're going to type the first page. Great. That's a little bitty chocolate bar. And I said, but then after you do that one, and then I opened that up and I ate it. Okay, that was good. That tasted good. Okay, it wasn't the giant bar that I'm really going for, but that tasted pretty good. And then I got out another Crackle bar, and I was like, okay, so then once you've written the first chapter, then you write the second chapter. Delicious.
How much candy did you eat during this?
I wanted to create a keynote in which I just got to eat candy the whole time. So
right.
it was dynamite.
I think you achieved that.
It was awesome. My goal achieved.
Yeah, right.
In truth, I ate about 3 or 4 to illustrate. Okay, good. And I said, so here's the thing. you keep leveling up. And for us, and I kept using my examples, is like, the first time I ever got paid to speak, it was life-changing. The first time someone actually said, we want you to come, share your thoughts, and we will give you money. I was like, well, that is amazing. How much money are you going to give me? I mean, I didn't even charge them. I was like, wow, thank you. They were like, how much do you charge? And I said, I don't know. I have no idea. Normally I get paid like a sandwich. So if you want to give me money, that would be great. And I remember I earned $350 for that day. And I was like, this is the greatest day ever. I just made $350 to go and speak. I drove 4 hours to get to the event. I spoke for a couple of hours, drove back 4 hours. So it was a full Saturday and made $350. This is great. I will do this for the rest of my life. I will do this every day for the rest of my life if I can. That was great.
Look at you now.
Seriously.
Haters will say it's fake.
And that's the point, is because now I'm thankful I get to earn a lot more than $350 now every time I speak. In fact, if I said yes to a $350 event, Anj would get on to me and she would say no, and she would be mad at whatever sales rep from Paradigm Shift sold that. And she would say, please stop using Jared at that little event. Now, am I above $350? No, but we've leveled up. And so this is the idea. Remember, we're talking about goal achievement versus contentment as we wrap this all together, because I said, here's the thing. You will never achieve this giant candy bar, because by the time you get to the giant candy bar, it's going to feel like the next little candy bar. Mm-hmm. And so to me, that's why goal setting is important, and we can have that, but I'm always content, because you're never going to feel that big candy bar. And I think that's kind of the elusiveness when we get there. And that's kind of when he gets that big night, he walks out and he's standing there and he's like, okay, this is it. And Dorothea Williams, the famous jazz star, she says, yeah, Teach, this is it. We're going to come back tomorrow night and do it again. And he's like, okay. And she says, well, what's the matter? He says, I don't know. I just thought it would feel different. I thought there'd be more. Mm-hmm. And then that's when she tells him the story of the fish, that these two fish are around. This fish is looking for the ocean. And he talks to an older fish and says, I'm looking for the ocean. He says, man, you're in the ocean. He says, this is water. What I want is the ocean. And then that's where the contentment piece comes in, that I think many of us are living this life looking for this big giant candy bar or the ocean or something out there. And we think it's going to be when I make $1 million, when I start my business, when I graduate from this thing, when I have a family, when I find the perfect one, when I do whatever this thing is. But in my experience, all of those things can be, and that's where it's interesting to hear both of your opinions of the level of contentment or the level of success or the level of joy that they bring you in different seasons. Mm-hmm. But it's ultimately not the end all. Mm-hmm. But that's where I think that we have to be content along the way. And so as we close out here, what are some things that you found? Because I don't know that any of us have ever mastered that. That's one of those things, this contentment versus achievement, especially for those of us who are high achievers. Mm-hmm. Which is interesting, because I think on this podcast, we have 4 different levels of that. I think we have 4 varying degrees of achievement-driven personalities. Mm-hmm. What are some ways that you find contentment on the journey? And that's where I want to close out with this question, this achievement versus contentment. And this can be something maybe that you've even heard someone else, say this or this other thought that we want to bring into this. But let's end with just some strategies. If that's the framing, if that's the thinking, how do we find this balance or achievement versus contentment harmony? Anybody got any thoughts?
I think I have had to wrestle with this a lot, because I know when I'm content, given the metrics that I just said earlier, but I'm not saying I'm always am content. I just know, I probably am feeling that way more. The quote I was actually thinking of was, when you let success go to your head, failure goes to your heart. Okay. Meaning with my successes can boost me up. That is when my failure go almost like straight to my identity, straight to my heart. And I remember reading that, it was probably a few years ago now, and I was like, oh my gosh, I think that is not my whole problem, but probably really large part of my problem. Because I think especially as a young leader, I think for a lot of my life, that was true. It was like, okay, I can, especially when you are young and you're leading, you do have to kind of validate yourself more. Like you do have to make yourself, you have to hold a lot of confidence. And so successes would be the maybe foundational piece to set me up that way. However, if that was true, then, one little failure would knock me down way further than any success took me. So I think for me, in your question of like contentment, and how you find that is, I think I have had to find myself never just in one space, if that makes sense. So never just like, I couldn't ever just be a mom. I couldn't ever just be a CEO. I could never just be a facilitator. It's healthy for me to find myself in more spaces than just one, because it's never all I am. I am not, if I left and was not a CEO tomorrow, that does not make or define who I am. If sadly I was no longer a mom for some reason tomorrow, very sad, but that also still doesn't define the only thing that I am. If I'm just a lot, there's a lot of different hats that you can wear in your life. And I think when I'm putting all I have into only one bucket, for me, that's when I know I'm definitely not striving to be content. I probably am striving for achievement in that one hat, in that one area. So contentment helps when I stretch it out in that way.
Very cool. Very cool. That's a good perspective. And having that, I mean, almost like, not to be nerdy about it, but that's kind of an epiphany that Joe has in the movie Soulless. He's like thinking, I'm a musician. That's all there is to it. But the real dramatic impact he has is on his student, that he's just a substitute teacher. And he almost dismisses that. Like the whole movie, he's kind of like, he's dismissing his teaching. And then the young girl, basically, he's changing her life, really impacting her. And he's really missing that because he's so focused on this one aspect of his life and not seeing, like you're saying, multiple hats, multiple impacts.
Which I like that. And I think it's kind of scary too, because you can, even if you only look at your work hat, I think a lot of us can be guilty of that as leaders. Like, well, I want to make this impact. I want to go out and do this thing. And then I don't think about the person I'm leading right below me. Oh yeah, I had a good conversation with Jess too. Yeah, that was like good too. But man, I don't have enough Instagram followers. I'm not an influencer in the way I want to be. I'm not speaking on the stages I want to speak on. And I totally overlook the 20 people I'm leading too. Like that's also a pretty scary place you can get as a leader, even if you take that one hat I'm talking about and break it down even further. Yeah. So
that's good stuff.
Well said. I think for me, it's been a very prominent thing in my life that I've had to work through.
Okay.
Just because I am an achiever and I exactly what you're saying. Practically, I think what helps me is just practicing thankfulness. Spending time looking at where I've been, where God's brought me, and just saying thank you.
Yeah.
So,
that's good.
That's good.
That's good stuff. Jess?
I resonate with what Anja's saying, but in a different way. Like for me, it's not like she has the role of CEO, mom, speaker, like those are hers, but I kind of find those hats within my one role. And so I have a lot of different jobs within my role. And I think that if I were to hone in on one of them, I would be sad because there is so much that I enjoy doing and I do have to offer. But at the end of the day, like I find entertainment and self-expression in the job that I happen to do. So like when you're creating stuff like that all the time, it's easy to not think of achieving as the goal when the goal is just to express yourself.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably what it is for me.
As we continue this idea of achievement versus contentment, I want to encourage everyone. A very cliche thing would be to enjoy the journey, enjoy the ride. And we hear those cliches. We want to continue to break down and maybe give some more insight into how you can do that. My example, I really like Lim's idea of just practicing thankfulness because the whole time I was getting to eat chocolate. And I think that's what's often overlooked. And once again, that's just a silly analogy, but it's like, oh, you're wanting this gigantic candy bar. You're wanting that next thing, like, oh, well, hey, it's great that, I'm making a living as a speaker, but I'm not the influencer I want to be. How do we get more followers on our LinkedIn or TikTok or Instagram or wherever? Oh, well, we've got 1 million. Oh, well, how do we get 2 million? And there's always this striving for more. And if you keep just chasing that rainbow, there's never the end. You never find the end of that rainbow.
Yeah.
You have to pull back and realize, oh, okay, hey, I'm getting to eat the chocolate. I'm enjoying this moment. I'm enjoying this life. And even if it's not perfect, but I'm enjoying this moment. I'm thankful for this. So I like that idea of practicing gratitude. I like the idea of looking at yourself in multidimensional facets, not just, oh, this is it. And if this doesn't happen, it's not going to work out. So I hope this has been encouraging to everyone because I want to encourage all of our Good Leader Podcast listeners that your life matters. You matter. And the deepest lesson there of Soul was he was so fixated on this one thing that he honestly at the end felt like, well, my life meant nothing because I didn't achieve that one thing. So untrue. And I think that many of us overlook the impact, the influence that we have because we are fixated on these goals, ideas, dreams, or even images of ourselves that we think we are supposed to be this thing. And I'm not quite that thing. So I guess I'm just not fulfilling my life. Whether we are whether we are very religious and we think God has some sort of specific way that I'm supposed to be and I'm not being that thing, or whether we're not religious and we're goal oriented and we have to be this thing, or whether we're neither of those things, but we have pressure from our family or the world and we think we're supposed to be this thing. Hit the brakes. Take some stress off. I just think that we all live in this world of, well, I'm supposed to be this. And it's like, no, it's okay. Just live. And that's the thing that I love about this movie. And I love about it because the whole lesson is, there's this really poignant part where 22 says, maybe walking is my spark. I'm really good at walking. And that's such a silly almost thing, but it's like, yeah, I'm really good at that. I'm really good at this living thing. I'm really good at this laughing thing. I should laugh more. I'm really good at this enjoying life if I allow myself to enjoy it. So on the next episode, we're going to continue this because we're going to have a special how to live in the moment as a parent. A very niche episode, but Soul really hit me in the feels. And we're going to have our special guest, Jocelyn, return as we talk about parenting, living in the moment, and being content. Thanks. Be a good leader.